What's on your mind today?
Like, I want to change, but I'm not particularly open to make those changes.
I'm trying.
Every time I get rid of one compulsion, another compulsion comes up.
Are you yawning right now?
Spoiler alert, I feel like I'm stuck.
Right. How does that make you feel?
Jimmy!
Liz! Hey!
It's 3 a.m.
I'm sorry.
What's in that bowl?
Pretzels.
The other bowl.
Maybe some painkillers.
Maybe?
There's painkillers in there, yeah.
I have to ask, is this you forever?
I don't know. Oh, hey, Paul.
I'm worried about you, kid.
Yeah, I've been grieving her.
You've been numbing.
Stop. You're doing sad face.
This is just face. I have resting dead wife face.
He just kept on going on and on about how dumb I am. But he loves me.
Your husband is emotionally abusive. He's not working on it. He doesn't intend to. Just leave him.
Okay.
I think I can help people if I get my hands a little bit dirtier. Your mom wanted you to scatter her ashes, right? We know what they should do. Don't you ever want to just shake them?
Well, we don't shake them.
I take that back. Run? Huh?
Sounds so unethical.
You're just gonna burn down your career and take me with you.
Coin flip?
Get out of here.
Wait, this is my office.
It took you longer than it should have.
My patients are really thriving. This thing I'm doing is really working. I'm right behind you!
Nobody gets through this life unscathed.
I can't remember Mom's laugh. I can feel her slipping away.
You're faced with a choice. Are you gonna let your grief drown you? Or are you gonna face it, come through the other side?
It's nice to see you have your spark back.
Just gonna leave your car here?
I'm a white guy in Pasadena. The cops will probably just take it back to my house for me.
Must be nice.
Derek, how's it going?
Just walking the dog I didn't want.
My patient moved into her sister's house.
Sounds like the day's off to a great start for both of us.
Yes, hello, and welcome to the periodic table of autumn. Now tell me about your mother.
I guess I never really felt like I was as loved for who I was. I would spend a lot of time playing video games, and she'd tell me not to. And
Yes, interesting. Do go on.
did you just write "he's a dick" on your piece of paper?
I drew a dick on my piece of paper. Does that help? Is that about therapy? Is that what we're talking about? No, it is
I don't
not.
know. I've never had therapy, and I feel like after this, maybe I should.
Quinny, you carry yourself like somebody who's had therapy.
Wow.
What does that even mean?
No, I mean,
It
like,
means that you seem sensitive and well-adjusted.
Oh,
I know.
oh, Peter.
Thanks, Pete. I'm
That
right
was-
here, you know.
The fact that you immediately thought that was supposed to be an insult is one of the problems that we have in society.
Oh, no.
No,
it's-
that's
Guys to
amazing.
get therapy is a green flag, guys.
Oh.
Ah, dear. I love that. That's excellent.
now I feel like we've all started to open up about ourselves a
Sure.
little bit more.
Is that okay? I just like I didn't even have a gag for that intro. I just decided to start and it was like, oh, I've got a pad and a pencil. I'm just gonna do this now. And you guys went with it, and that's great. So thanks for handing me. But also, how dare you, Peter? I'm a well-constructed person who definitely has never had therapy and doesn't need it.
So I don't think that neither of you are qualified to do this review.
No.
No, probably not. Methinks the lady being Dion protesteth too much.
What do you mean protest? What are you
How does that
talking
make
about?
you feel? Dion?
No, I don't need to have therapy because I have television shows like Shrinking. Yes, that's what we're doing tonight. We're reviewing Shrinking, the Apple TV television show or / streaming show. I don't know what you can call them now. I watch it
It's
on
on
my
a television.
television.
It's close enough.
Yeah, are we gonna call them in the future like phonies? You know, it's a show built specifically to watch on your phone, and you just watch it on your phone, and they're called phonies. Is it the thing you watch it on that you call it?
Is it the like watched this on I don't know what you did. But
Yeah,
I
why-
watched this
why
on
did-
television.
Me too.
Was I not supposed to do that?
I mean,
No.
should I be calling them USB stickies or?
Come on, Christopher
Streaming.
Nolan.
Also fairly revealing, Quinny.
Yeah. I feel like you have cut right to the quick of me, Peter, and I'm slightly concerned that you've now just inadvertently become my therapist.
I think she's got your number there, Quinny.
She does. She doesn't call me very often, but she does have it.
I don't use USB.
We're millennials. We don't call anyone Quinny.
Exactly. She texts me occasionally.
I watch a lot of VPNs.
VP anytime.
Oh dear. Hi, how's
So,
things going? Good.
Why are we watching this? Why are we talking about this? I mean, I know roughly where we're at with it.
No,
but I'm intrigued to know why did we start? Because honestly, if I hadn't seen a trailer or whatever, the concept of this show is not a thing that I would have been lining up to fucking watch. Let me tell you, without knowing the cast or anything like that, I would have been like, so it's a show about a therapist who's just as fucked up as the people that he's trying to therapize.
I'm in. You got me, Quinny.
Okay. Because like if you said that, okay, the therapist who's just as messed up and probably more messed up than the people he's trying to, I'd be like,
yeah, but I mean,
doesn't have any robots in it, so
I was completely ambivalent to this until I saw that it was Bill Lawrence, and then I was like, ooh, okay, and then it sold me on it also got Harrison Ford, and I was like, no, he's just doing a cameo. He's not in. Oh, he's in this one. Oh, he's in all of them.
Yeah, being super gruff and kind of graveling his way through being kind of old and grumpy, but also lovable.
Yes, he's definitely park gravel wrapped in velvet, sliding in as he gets older, and it's quite fun, but with good lines.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So the initial concept of it, you wouldn't have sold me on, but when I looked at the trailer and went, oh, it's got Jason Segel. He's kind of funny sometimes. Wow, he's aged.
Oh, we all do. Quinny, you know that there are photos of all of us probably.
Yeah, no, I know.
Where people would look at it and be like, wow, you aged. I'm like, it was 20 years ago. To explain, in my head, Jason Segel is always the dude who was in the Muppet movie.
That is what Jason Segel is to you?
Yeah.
I never watched How I Met Your Mother. I hated it.
He's not How I Met You. But you never watched Freaks and Geeks?
No.
He's from the same era as
He's not the Forgetting Sarah Marshall guy to you?
He was that, but like he kind of overwrote that with the dude from the Muppet movie.
He's not the knocked up guy to you?
Sometimes. But all of these were, a few years old. And then I saw him and I honestly didn't recognize him for a second because he's no longer kind of that young 30s-ish kind of person. He's now somebody who looks like, I don't know how old he is, but he looks his age.
Calm down, because he's only 4 years older than me, which I think makes him younger than you.
Motherfucker! I mean, he is also being made to look tired here.
He's 43.
Motherfucker's younger than me.
Anyway, you've been not on a Jason Segel train that you should have been on, because he has done a lot of interesting stuff since the Muppet.
Hey, come on.
Hang on.
He blasted out, am I a man or am I a Muppet? Like a fucking...
I'm not saying that he wasn't great in the Muppet movie. I'm just saying that he's done stuff. One of my favorite of which is Dispatches from Elsewhere, which I tried to make you all watch and nobody would.
Sorry.
No.
What's it about?
But maybe one day later we can discuss. It's too much to explain in one podcast when we're actually supposed to be synopsizing something else. Maybe we should do that.
Really? Do you actually want us to stay on board and actually talk about something?
Do you have a synopsis for us, Quinny? Because
I do.
That was a very excellent segue, and
I just kind of. Pete. I actually appreciate you more than you know for being the single smartest person in this room.
Anyway, get on with the synopsis, Quinny.
Shrinking follows a grieving therapist who starts to break the rules and tell his clients exactly what he thinks. ignoring his training and ethics, he finds himself making huge, tumultuous changes to people's lives, including his own. That's it. That's the official Apple TV synopsis.
I
of Shrinking.
prefer Chiquita's in the chat's synopsis, which is, it's a funny show about grief.
Oh,
There you
that
go.
is quite good. Yes.
There you go. A funny show about grief.
A funny show about grief, and would you like to talk about it?
I know it's the least therapizing show about therapy that I've kind of seen, because everyone is just kind of like already. I like that everyone comes in the show preloaded, especially from the therapist side, of understanding that a lot of therapy is maybe just common sense and making good decisions that are good for you. But they all know that, like, but we're still going to make terrible decisions for us, because sometimes we want to run away from actually dealing with our problems, even if we're therapists. And that continues on forever.
I really love that first sort of opening montagey bit where and there's a bit of it in the trailer we've seen, where you're looking at some of his patients and they're just doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And doing it over and over, and you can see him getting more and more frustrated with the idea that this guy desperately wants to be seen by somebody or wants to not date women who are dumb and stuff like that, as he sees it. But in fact, it's pretty obvious that he's making the same decision over and over again and expecting a different outcome. And the what's her name, Claire, is it? Who is the one who has a terrible husband who is treating her badly and keeps making the same decision. And I think that's why I would struggle to ever be a therapist, is because the idea of listening to people tell me and recognize the mistakes they're making, but then just keep doing them, would possibly make it very difficult. Peter's
as
mouth
somebody
went
who's
funny
had
shaped.
enough of therapy, had a lot of therapy, I can confirm that you would find it very frustrating.
Yeah. So, Peter, what do therapists do? Because I don't think this show has been particularly good at telling me what therapists do. I think it's been a pretty good example of what they're not meant to do.
It's a very good example of what they're not meant to do. I'm no expert, and there's lots of different kinds of therapy. But I don't think that having patients move into your house is on the list of any kind of ethical way to approach therapy. No.
So you've never moved in with a therapist? This is what you're telling us?
This is what I'm saying, yes.
Okay.
Wait, are you saying stuff on TV isn't actually happening in the real world?
What?
It's a shocker, isn't it?
My whole life is a sham.
But charming nonetheless.
Yes. So this, as you said, creation of Bill Lawrence, who in recent years has been making some pretty hit TV shows, the most beloved of which, what is it?
Scrubs.
That's not the one I was thinking of.
Well, that's beloved.
It is beloved, but in recent years.
Spin City?
Fuck you.
Cougar Town.
Fuck. I'm done.
What?
And this is the moment where I realize that I have been making the same decision over and over and over, expecting things to change, and it never does.
Sometimes you like the consistency, Gwynny.
I do. I would be disappointed if you ever weren't you, Dion.
A little boring show. What was it, Quinny? You know you want to talk about. Actually, no, there's someone here who likes it more than both of us together. Peter, what show is it?
What's tomorrow, everyone?
The last day of the year?
It's Ted Lasso Day.
Oh, right.
It's
Yeah.
Ted Lasso Day.
Also Chicago Day, but that's another story for another time.
Is it the last episode of this season?
No.
I can hope not.
No, there's quite a few. I think we're at episode 5 or 6. So yeah, no, we've got another few to go, thankfully, because there's no fucking way they could wrap all of that up in one episode. But so yes, Bill Lawrence, most recently responsible for creating Ted Lasso. And I like to think of it as, in a way, kind of looking at different types of masculinity, but mental health, just like this is a kind of comedy that is gentle, but at the same time humane. I don't really know how to put it.
That's probably an accurate way to put it. I'm just as likely to laugh as to cry in an episode, but then when I finish crying, it's kind of like I think I needed that kind of cry.
Yeah, and seeing characters be vulnerable a lot of the time and get things wrong a lot of the time and be kind of open to admitting that they've gotten it wrong. It's quite refreshing because so often, we watch TV where the drama relies on people lying to each other or trying to keep things hidden or trying to keep things tense for however long. And I like that these shows seem to be, I don't know, it's like something big will happen, but then it'll get brought up and dealt with fairly quickly because the tension isn't what matters. It's the emotional understanding of the tension and then the dealing with it that is what actually matters. That's my takeaway anyway. And I'm more than happy to have somebody argue with me on this.
Do you sometimes dead silence isn't an argument? Where it's like, no,
I
you're
know,
wrong. Your feelings are not valid. See, this is the opposite of therapy. If you're looking for that, it's like.
Just so you know, Camille, I wasn't trying to invalidate you. I was just muting myself while somebody yelled in my alleyway.
Oh, right. Okay.
Just for the sake of the audio quality.
Yeah. No. It's just that thing. I was like, oh no, I think maybe I'm way off the fucking mark here. They've both gone quiet and they're not. Oh no.
Well, I love that
maybe
Peter's
I've been reading these shows completely fucking wrong.
I love that Peter's got someone like yelling in the alleyway, and for some reason the flight path has been diverted over our apartment tonight. So every now and again, I'm just like mute shit, mute shit. Yep. Anyway, that's why I've gone quiet.
Now I understand. I don't feel quite so much like I'm screaming into the void.
It's called a tacit agreement with silence.
Right.
Yes.
Well, and let me tell you, I'm more for the concept of enthusiastic consent. I don't like the idea of tacit agreements with silence because that's fucking dangerous. So I go looking for a positive, yes, good.
So the reason I loved and love Ted Lasso, or one of the reasons, is this exploration of what I guess you would call non-toxic masculinity, or everything that, can be challenging and difficult and positive about masculinity and the way that it can be dealt with outside of those positive spheres. And then adding into it things like, really positive representations of female friendships as well, which is really super important and something that you don't realize until you see it, that you don't often see, because often if you have two female characters, for some reason they need to be pit against each other. And Shrinking brings a lot of those things in, but in a really different way. It's a series that has a very, very different feel to Ted Lasso. It doesn't have quite the warm and fuzzies that first season Ted Lasso had, because it does deal with grief. And I think that it's hard to get that level of warm and fuzzy out of something that deals really specifically with the grieving process. And that's the point that they're starting from here is, let's start at grief and go from there.
And it also doesn't have perhaps quite the same accessibility of the characters. Like Ted, is kind of that little ray of sunshine character that, as soon as he walks into the room, you kind of go, oh, that guy's likable and affable and his weird turn of phrase warms you to him. I don't think Jimmy is as accessible immediately.
I think that's the whole point of him, though.
No, it is the whole point, but as a show, it means that you've got a slightly bigger barrier to entry, or to really kind of engaging with the character.
Only in the first episode, and then you start.
And
to
that's
realize...
also where the ensemble cast really pulls you in, because you can't jump on with the main protagonist super quickly because he's a bit ouchy. But then they've got this fantastic ensemble that they've built around that each has their own stuff to deal with in you know, each are really kind of compelling and funny and sometimes tear-making way.
And they also have really good dialogue. Like no
Yeah.
one kind of gets like
Fuck yeah.
that's part of the thing that I liked about it is that everyone every time they're saying something on screen, it's worthwhile to the overall narrative. And Jimmy's just kind of there to experience it along the way. You're going with Jimmy, not because you like him or you want to hang around him. It's just that he will interact with people that he comes across in his circle of friends or
colleagues or just his circle of influence.
Yes, where he's around. And the rest of them are more interesting than him. His story is just a bit sad and boring. For most of the series, I was watching it going, I'm just a bit sick of Jimmy. But the way that he reacts with everyone and everyone goes, you're just an absolute fuck up at this point in your life. And he's like, yeah, I am. Anyway.
But that is the thing that kind of warmed me to him, is that while he was an absolute fuck up, and you know, the first thing you see of him is 3 o'clock in the morning, he's coked out of his eyeballs. There are there are two people who are possibly sex workers in his pool. We're not sure. They're named, but we're not sure. And you know, you're like, this guy's a bit of a mess. And then the next day you're finding out he's the therapist. You're like, oh shit, right. He's got some.
He's presented as a broken man, and then you're supposed to go on this journey when you don't know what he does. But apparently, his job is to help people, which he is incapable of doing for himself at that time. And then, how does that work? Especially considering everyone, especially his colleagues, know that he isn't like he should be able to fix himself, but are going to treat him differently because it's like we know what you're doing. Anyway,
you're still dealing with your loss and you're doing it in your way. And it's funny, like the more like initially when you start watching it, you're sort of looking at it thinking, okay, Gabby seems like, you know, she's probably a more by the book kind of therapist, but at the same time, not at all.
But she does make people hydrate. And I love the slow character trait across all of the whole season, where she's the kind of not fun one, I would say, but she has a more positive life way of dealing with things. But I love that she just gets more and more stickers over everything in her office and across all of her personal items across the season. Like if you go back and notice it, it's like at the start, it's like, hey, there's a few around. And by the end of it, they're just everywhere. Like her laptop is covered.
This is a millennial trademark.
Is it? Are you sure? Because I have sticker problems, don't I, Peter? I have commitment issues when it comes to that.
Maybe it's an exennial trademark.
Sure.
I've got stickers here, right here, just off screen, that I'm not willing to put on things because
stick it on something.
That's the thing. No, exennials don't stick stickers on things. Like we collect our stickers in like an album that has like sticky pages, so you never have to peel them off. I don't understand kids these days who like stick their stickers on things. I find it extremely
I'm going to
stressful.
buy stickers and stick it on something. It's like, please don't.
What if you get the sticker I loved it as a kid, sticking things on things, because I had a fucking door that I could put stickers on. When I moved out of that house, I had to strip the door. And suddenly things were different. That was before my father left. But my mother, no.
No.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at your
no.
attempt at being vulnerable there, but you know, this is why we do these things in a room.
Yes,
with a therapist,
and not your friends who are co-podcasters.
Sure. Although, I mean, come on, think of some of your most favorite internet therapists that are out there, like the guy who dresses up as the frog. Have you seen that one? Oh, I wish I'll have to look that one up. There's a guy who he's not a therapist, but he has a talk show, and his thing that breaks down the barrier, it makes people open up to him. He just dresses like a frog.
Okay. Is it like Dr. Katz, the animated
Kind
therapist?
of.
Okay.
Oh, it's a gecko. Sorry, not a frog.
Okay.
Oh, well, that changes
Important
everything.
distinction. Fucking hell.
Now I know what you're talking about.
His name is Therapy Gecko.
I am too old for this internet world.
Amazing. I mean, I do think that there's probably a disturbing trend of people getting therapy on TikTok at the moment.
I was listening to one of those podcasts that is like, okay, sign up for this online type of therapy, and I can't for the life of me remember what it is. But if I had said their name, they might start advertising with us because they advertise on a lot of podcasts. I think it's like Therapy for You or something like that, where you can start your online therapy sessions through Zoom or through whatever. And then if you don't like it, if it's not working for you, just move on to a different therapist. And, you know, for a one low price per month, you can move to as many different therapists you like. And I was like,
that's actually not a terrible idea.
No, it's not a terrible
because
idea.
Finding the right therapist is
it like speed dating for therapists? Finding a therapist at the moment is the whole thing.
Or finding a therapist at the moment is a different issue as well. Speaking of therapists, so bringing it back to the show and not just discussion of therapy. Harrison Ford.
Holy shit.
Hello. Harrison Ford was one of my favorite things about this show. And like, of course, because it's Harrison Ford, he's probably going to be a favorite thing about everything. But he was really, really funny, I thought.
Yeah.
I thought like his timing was magnificent.
He is a great, like it's a stupid thing to say, but he's a great find for a comedy director to find somebody who has that really dry.
I feel like he would have been an absolute pain in the ass to Mike though, because I feel like his delivery is so close to mumbling silence that it's like, God damn, Harrison, just give me a little bit. Like it was a perfect delivery.
I loved it,
but it was also he's got like, yeah, we don't know. And you're like,
see, what I desperately want is to see this become like a shared universe, where both, you know, this and Ted Lasso and various other shows from the Bill Lawrence studios all exist in
Brett
one.
Goldstein. I don't know if we mentioned Brett earlier, but he's
that's where I was going.
Yeah.
So I said, did I say Brett Lawrence?
Bill Lawrence, Brett Goldstein.
Thank you. Yes, I just love the idea of Brett Goldstein showing up as Roy Kent, and him and Harrison Ford or Paul just growling at each other.
Sure, we can make that happen.
I think could we please make that happen?
Why can
because I would watch
and
the shit
Ted
out of
Lasso
that.
not exist in the one universe?
There's no reason at all they can't exist in the one
Absolutely
universe.
not. They're allowed to.
I would like to see them
go to a
very
conference.
easily imagine. Oh God, I can't remember the name of the doctor from Ted Lasso. Doc.
Oh yes.
You know, being at a conference with some of these guys and just going, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah, exactly. And then just throw in Mads Mikkelsen as Hannibal, and I'll be in heaven. I'll be like, yes, this is the crossover we all need.
What can I tell you? I'm a sucker for a shared universe. So yeah, Harrison Ford, amazing, and I love the idea of where his character is coming from. You know, that he's obviously always been kind of irascible and prickly, but now, and I don't think it's a spoiler to say it's brought up in the first episode. Was it maybe even in the trailer? I don't know. You know, he has Parkinson's, and seeing somebody go through the process of essentially either grieving their own life or not, or having done that process and now be trying to get on with their life and being surrounded by people who want to grieve it again for you, which I find fascinating. But this is what the show is really good at.
And jokes.
Exploring.
I know. I feel like this is like this review that we were doing sounds a lot more involved about therapy than what it is, because it is just joke after joke after joke after joke. There isn't that kind of thing that you had with Ted Lasso where it is like, oh, and now here's a big moving segment piece that we have to do. Like it has bits and pieces of those. I'm not saying it doesn't.
Yeah,
but
I was
it
gonna
is
say,
just kind of
got
like
its heart.
Oh yeah, it's definitely got heart, and it's got the right thing, and characters are going on lots of journeys, and they have really nice emotional beats. I just kind of think that, to me, in Shrinking, the beats were just at different places. So it didn't mean that it wasn't effective. It's just kind of more like, well, this show is actually kind of like funny to start with, funny across the board. And then every now and again, it kind of, because it moves those emotional beats just into different places, you're like, ow, that hurt. That hurt a lot. And then another bunch of jokes. Or, something very, I like the one which was about the crying therapy, which is like, it's okay to cry if you just want to take, 15 minutes of your day to listen to sad music and just cry. You're allowed to. You should be able to do that. And that becomes a recurring theme across different episodes of different people trying that. And, sure, it's a bit weird to start with, and then you understand what it's doing. And then by the time they get to the last person to do that kind of gag, the second last person, when Jason Segel's character does it, they make him he gets into an accident because he's doing it on a bicycle. Like, that is the kind of thing that this show worked really well at. It has nicely timed and understood things, so it's not all too low. I don't think you get too low watching this show that you're like, oh my God, I just feel terrible.
No.
Yeah, but it's also not a straight comedy.
No.
Like, this isn't kind of like boom, tish.
And it is like you guys watched it after it dropped. I watched it as it dropped. So having to wait a week and not being able to go on to the next episode, some of the episodes kind of finished on, a non-funny kind of note for the characters. So there was a level of, I guess, discomfort in waiting for the next episode and seeing how that played out, which I think is deliberate because it is an exploration of grief. So it's not supposed to be shits and giggles the whole time. But I thought, just really nicely done. I thought it was really nicely done.
Yeah.
And it's right up the alley of what I keep telling you guys that I want to be watching right now.
Yes.
Which is stuff that is really human and, make you laugh or it can make you cry, but it's about, humanity and the good of humanity, I guess, because that's really what this explores as well. It explores the good in all of these people. It could have gone a lot darker.
Oh, yeah.
Than it chose to go. It could have gone a lot darker than it chose to go. I mean, my favorite character is Derek. I love Derek. Like that dude is just happy to be here and completely unshakable. I love him. But I love
but also
friendships
he sets his own boundaries too, which I really like. Like, he's like, he'll have a quick moment of being legitimately pissed at something or whatever. And he's like, I'm really tired, honey. You snored all night. That's impossible. You don't snore. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's about, friendships. It's about, relationships of trust being built between people. And, it's just nice. I liked it.
I do. Like, I enjoyed, you're right in that same sort of thing. I needed a palate cleanser, and because I consumed all of this in one rapid sitting, I was like, that was nice and delicious. But then when having to wait for different pieces, like, I really needed that good episode, the heartfelt episode of Ted Lasso last week, because everything had just been a little bit shitty for a little while. And I was just like, but this is kind of the same sort of thing. This has a nice ending towards the season and wrapped up as a whole season. And so, Quinny, you've still got 2 episodes to go. So I
do,
far.
Which I'm sorry I did as much as the fucking of the homework as I could.
Yes.
But yeah, I know that I've got a little bit further to go, but also I feel like there's a lot of storylines that are set up and explored through various different characters. So, I mean, and it's all between the relationship between characters. So it's between Jimmy and Paul and their relationship. It's between Jimmy and Gabby and what's happening between them. Jimmy and his patient, Sean, and then Sean and Jimmy's daughter, and then Brian and Brian's Jimmy's best friend who's, trying to, work through his shit. Everybody has got shit they're trying to work through. Krista Miller, who plays Liz, the next door neighbor who just loves polishing rocks, among other things, she's dealing with some shit.
Not a euphemism.
No, no, it's actual. And one thing that I found fascinating is it takes about halfway through the season before you start looking into the relationship between Jimmy and his dead wife, Tia. I mean, you knew that like she's not there, and there's a sort of historical version of what their relationship was, but then you start to realize that may not have been the case, and our relationships with people are extraordinarily complex when they're alive. They're even more complex when they're dead, because now you can't say the things and you can't get closure on things that you may be really concerned by, and that's a really difficult thing to deal with, where you're like, well, shit, I'll never know, because you can't ask them. So interesting character relationships.
I do like the way that it broke down that kind of trope of, the dead ex-girlfriend, ex-wife, and the flashbacks, because,
it's a fridging, Peter. It's a fridging.
Kind of, well, it is kind of tropey and fridgy, particularly when you kind of start with the flashbacks of this idealistic, beautiful woman and these idealistic, beautiful scenes of their
Were they ever underneath
perfect
a
life
white
together.
sheet? Lying
I can't
on
remember.
the pillow.
I have seen that recently.
White sheet over the top of them.
But I like that they kind of gradually kind of broke down that trope and started, showing the memories of when things weren't, perfect, and regrets and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And that one I found really interesting, because that was halfway through the season or something like that, where they really start to sort of go, what was that relationship? And the relationship between the daughter and her mother, which, you sort of go, oh, that was going to be perfect, wasn't it? But no relationship's perfect. Nothing's black and white.
But also none of these characters are perfect either. Like, there's no kind of individual character who you always can trust to like do exactly the right thing and have their shit together. Like, everybody has a thing, including Paul, who's supposed to be, kind of like the father figure of the ensemble, who's got his shit together and points out when other people are being stupid. And, everyone has their stuff. So it's really nice and balanced in that way.
And as I said sort of at the start, one of the joys of it is watching people fuck up and then seeing how they deal with it. Because in a lot of cases, the fuck ups or decisions are made that you think, oh shit, that's going to be a big thing. And quite often it's actually addressed really quickly, because, and I don't know whether it's the writing or what that says, maybe it's best to not let things fester. If a mistake's been made, actually bring it up. Like, let's just open it up and make sure that everybody understands where they stand now. Yeah. Which I think is really healthy. So, yeah.
So
I feel like we don't want to do too many spoilers because Quinny hasn't finished the season, but should we
go and
do
have a
rate and clip?
Let's go. Let's do
and then
that.
mild spoilers.
And mild spoilers. I don't really know if you can spoil too much towards the end of the season, because you just want to go on. It's a journey of the characters. Except for there is a big spoiler I won't talk about the end of season 1.
Okay.
How's that sound?
I mean,
for you,
you can if you want, but I can just take my headphones out.
No.
Look at my toys.
What about the rest of you? Well, we'll see how we go. Wait.
I mean, Jaquita Wagner in the chat has said it's really important. Don't leave for important things unsaid. So,
what do you mean by that, Quinny?
What do you mean by that?
It's important for you to rate this now.
Okay.
That's what I want you to understand.
Okay. From the perspective of that I've had so far, which is most of the season, I really like it. It grew on me steadily as I watched, and I initially felt like, I'm not in love with Jason Segel as a leading character, but then I realized that it's an ensemble, and also seeing the names show up in the actual like credits occasionally, like 3 or 4 episodes of the season are directed by Zach Braff. you know, and seeing Brett Goldstein's name in the credits as the writer, you go, oh, okay, right. I'm actually in safe hands here. I'm in the hands of people who know what they're doing. So for me, it's going to be an 88. I'm really enjoying it. I mean, I could go higher, but I also don't know. Maybe it drops the ball at the end.
Oh dear. Peter, do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
No, you go.
Okay. I had a really good time with it. I'm going to give it 90 because it was fun and it had a lot of those Ted Lasso vibes. And damn it, why is Apple doing all of really good things? Except for potentially a movie I watched just recently that just came out on Apple, which we haven't decided if it's being reviewed or not. But that was an interesting...
It was so ghosty.
Record scratch of things for Apple to come out with, but they can't win them all. That's what I say. So I'm going to go with 90 because I want to see season 2, and let's get as much out of.
Yes, and if we rate it high, we'll definitely get one.
Exactly.
I agree. I'm going 90. I've pretty much recommended this to everybody that I talk to. I can't really think of anybody who wouldn't get something out of this show. I thought it was lovely, just the kind of thing that I'm after at the moment. And I didn't really, have any points where I kind of felt like it majorly dropped the ball. I mean, you do have to suspend your disbelief a little bit on how the therapy angle is handled. But given that's not really what it's about.
Show.
It is a TV show, but
really,
also...
it's not a show on how to do therapy, so we're giving it passes.
And I think they also are fairly clear that none of them are really doing it right.
No,
like
they all know they're doing it wrong.
Paul is running, therapy sessions with his other therapist's kid, which is a massive fucking breach of trust. And he's doing it in the park for the cost of candy. That's not healthy. That's not normal.
I felt that was a way for him to help in the way that he could.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
I don't think that she would have turned up in a therapist's office.
No. And I mean, also, the thing is, when they all break their own rules or whatever, it all then gives them a kind of weird permission to not be bound by the rules of therapy. So, if he's doing it not in a therapist's office, but in a park, and she's not paying for it, and then he can be a little more, I don't know, flexible with
We're not selling it here. It doesn't sound like we're really selling it.
It sounds terrible,
Yeah.
but at the same time, but that's the point. Sometimes, they're trying to be flexible, and in being flexible, they actually break things, and they fuck up pretty spectacularly. And I think Jimmy is the one that does it the most.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got one person who's giving us the score.
Oh, wait.
Thank you. Thanks, Predakanka.
We good? Should we go to? Yes.
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 All right, okay.
This is Ted McGinley doing his thing. Isn't it?
This is you'll get across all of this sort of stuff. It's a fun clip. It'll remind you that this show is actually a comedy. Anyway, we're back soon.
May I help you?
Just looking for a dead plant.
That is not your trash.
Okay, let's start over. So, my name is Sean, and I'm guessing you're Karen?
It's Pam.
Pam, the family knows him. Why don't you go home and post some shit on Nextdoor on how the neighborhood's changing?
He's staying with us, Pam. Were you dropping off some welcome muffins?
Wait, the guy that almost beat someone to death is staying with you? Jimmy, what the fuck are you doing?
It's fine. Alice is cool with it.
No, I'm not, but I agree Pam's a racist.
I'm moving into VA housing.
Hey, you don't owe her an explanation.
Why am I the bad guy?
Liz and I are just trying to protect the neighborhood.
Stop. There's no Liz and I.
You need me over here, babe?
No.
Oh, thank God.
Hey, Jimmy.
Hey, Derek.
Hey, Pam.
Hey. No, there's no hey, Pam. We don't like Pam.
Got it. Eat a dick, Pam.
There you go. Eat a dick,
Love
Pam.
Derek.
them out.
He's just the living embodiment of yes and.
I do love it too because he does have. You're quite right. So he's one of those little characters that they've slid in there, but who does have a lot of complexity in his own way. But it's just the time of his life that we've caught him is he's about to retire. He's worked his whole life, and now he's really looking forward to doing whatever the hell he feels like doing for the rest of his life. So nothing can really get him down. He's just there going, well, this is great.
It is, but also like he's still occasionally a bit of a dick too, where he's like,
Oh, yeah.
so I've been working real hard for a long time, and I'm going to be in the house. And unless you want to be stepping on each other a lot, you should probably not be in the house a lot.
Yeah,
And
well, no,
and
you
Liz
should,
is
you
like,
should
what
just
the
maybe get a
oh, shit.
hobby. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go. I'm going to be hanging around all day, every day, because I've been working. So,
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah, you're like, oh wow, maybe he can be a bit of a dick.
Yeah, so I love Peta was also mentioning the music. Again, Apple has enough rights to do a lot of things. I've noticed that they don't really care when it comes to music rights. They're like, yeah, we can afford it.
They can, but also good music choices. Like I think the opening theme is a really, it's a lovely piece of music that sort of, I don't know, feels like it's very smart in the way that it encompasses the feeling of the show, which is gentle, but also like, maybe you're a little fucked up, but that's okay.
Yeah. All right, spoilery times. I don't really have any spoilers for this apart from spoiler, it's a good show and everyone has nice character motivations. And oh my God, which one of Jimmy's patients, Quinny, do you think is going to end up having a real bad time with his alternative therapy of just telling people to shut the fuck up and move on?
Oh, well, in the last episode I was watching, Jimmy was telling one of them, sorry, I just need to look up the cast list so I remember who the actor is. Grace, Heidi Gardner. He's telling her, oh, I think you should definitely just push the coffee cup off the edge of the desk occasionally. And, she's in a relationship with a fucking abusive asshole dude. And I was like, oh, Jimmy, that's bad. That's terrible advice. Like, I can understand you wanting to disrupt things, and you've already fucked with her life significantly by saying you should go to Canada. And I will stop being your fucking therapist if you don't go to Canada. You're already in bad territory, but then he's done that, and I'm like, oh, that's possibly going to go badly. So that's my bet.
That's your
both
attempt?
of your faces have gone into a funny look where it's like not showing Quinny anything. So
Interesting. And how does that make you feel?
I was always really competitive with my brother.
Uh-huh.
I've in recent years realized I didn't have to be because. Oh, sorry, what?
I felt like some of the scenes with Paul's daughter and the expectations that she had of him at times were maybe a little harsh. Having said that, we don't really have the full backstory of Paul and his daughter, and obviously he does, feel like he has failed her significantly. But they have, there were a couple of scenes there where I was kind of like, oof, here is a character who's being fairly unreasonable. In this situation. It is kind of, resolved in a way, but it was kind of the only thing that made me kind of question kind of the behavior. And possibly it's because we don't actually spend any time with her. So the motivation for that behavior is a little bit of a mystery.
Yeah, and it's all coming from something that's happened a long time ago. And we don't really know quite what Paul was like as a parent, other than you get a fairly strong idea that he was probably pretty absent. Or at least disaffected or disengaged with his family life. But that his story, the one with the Parkinson's, really, I kind of was like, there's something so interesting there that the moment somebody is diagnosed with an ongoing incurable disease like that, a degenerative disease, it's like suddenly everybody changes their attitude towards him. But apart from the people he works with, they've kind of all come to, to an understanding of where it's at. Whereas the daughter suddenly just goes, okay, well, now I have to go in and fix everything. And I found that really interesting because I've seen that in other families.
Yeah.
Where suddenly it's like, oh, okay, right. Well, okay, I now have to come in and martyr myself to look after you. And he's like,
but also take away all of your agency in the process.
Exactly. Yeah. And
then
the
get
moment
mad
you
when
call
you're
them
like,
out
oh,
on
I
that,
love that.
yeah, like I actually quite like my agency, and just because I've got a degenerative disease, it hasn't degenerated me yet. I'm still fully capable for quite some time. People with Alzheimer's really have that for, because you're diagnosed with it, it may not actually become a thing for quite a long time. What do you do? I don't know. Wally is an interesting character. The patient of Jimmy's who, I guess, OCD?
Yeah, obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yeah.
Like all the patients are kind of funny in their own way, just that we go to follow two of them specifically. And I'm still curious about some of the other patients that we don't get to see from the rest of the
guy with the
practice that's going
barista?
on. Yeah, well, yeah, or you kind of get bits and pieces. I mean, I kind of also look at it too, and I'm like, how much is this therapy costing them? Because this is quite a large, lucrative practice that seems to be generating enough money to fund minimum 3 therapists into each buying their own house, etc. kind of thing. I like kind of go, how many patients are we not seeing? Like, do they just not have a crushing appointment schedule of like they have to see 72 patients a day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that, knowing or having seen doctors working in a surgery and everything like that, this is certainly not a realistic representation of a normal practice, because they seem to have an awful lot of time for standing around and having a coffee and arguing about potatoes,
Drinking water, eating a mandarin.
Yeah, all of these things, as opposed to
disappearing for days on end after you've gone on a bender, and it's just totally fine and is done with is resolved with a short talk.
See, what I really want to see is the receptionist for that particular clinic that is just going, I'd love to book you in with Jimmy, but I don't know where the fuck Jimmy is. I don't know. Poor, stressed, really unhappy receptionist.
Oh, that's all right. They solved that by having it done by chatbot GPT. That does all of the booking for them now. And you too can get your podcast fixed.
Yeah, and yes, as Predicanka makes that one, they do seem to end appointments literally whenever they want to. It's like, okay, Wally, that's your time done. And I'm like, she literally just walked in the room.
But
maybe Wally was late.
Maybe it's like a Fitness First membership, is that you just pay up front for a year's worth of therapy. So if you don't go, then you're just like, well, but I've already spent the money. I might as well go to therapy.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works. I don't know.
No, neither do I.
I'm unsure. But yeah, look.
Can I go to therapy at 3:00 in the morning if I just can't sleep? Is that
sure? Why not?
Probably with the internet and other time zones, probably.
Sure.
Shit. Yeah. Right. Okay.
I wonder what
suddenly that.
I mean, it's a very strange thing, and thank you for bringing that up. I just had that idea. It was like, I wonder what therapy is like in different countries. Like I have only a very narrow view of it, understanding it from like what is represented in American media as to what therapy is, or maybe English therapy is. Because I had a lot of conversations, comparisons of this show and Afterlife, the Ricky Gervais one, which is again was dealing with grief but without a therapist. In that, I kind of like, I like the way that they both deal with grief at two opposite ends of the spectrum. But this was just kind of like, I really want to find out what's it like to be a Japanese therapist in Tokyo, do they do the same things? Or do they just sit there and be like, maybe you shouldn't try that? Like, I don't know. What does therapy look like in other countries?
I mean, therapy looks a lot of different ways just
Exactly.
in the one country. There are lots of different types of therapy, lots of ways to do therapy, and lots of different schools of thought. And I'm sure they kind of all borrow from each other.
Sure. I mean, the only therapy I know is just watching a lot of people go to CrossFit gyms and work stuff out that way.
Yeah,
This is
just get
not therapy,
angry.
but physical activity is important for the brain.
Are you
so I'll
sure?
give you
Because a
that
lot
one.
of people are treating it like therapy.
Yeah, well, it's not nothing.
Go to F45, work out your aggression.
Until they close because they're collapsing.
Well,
What? What are they closed?
We're just dumping on fitness people for some reason.
I'm not dumping on fitness people. Everyone should be doing a lot of fitness. Fitness.
I went to the gym today. Does that mean I'm a bad person?
You should have gone to therapy, Quinny.
Now, maybe I should have. Maybe I should have gone to that.
Did you just scream questions at the weights?
I cried whilst pushing weights, yes.
I would like to take the opportunity to recommend a completely different show as well. If we're talking about humanist comedies, Somebody Somewhere season 2 has just started on binge. So I do recommend this show. Is another show that is a comedy drama that deals with grief in a completely different and friendship
different
in a completely different way again, and it is another one that I really enjoy. So if you like this, you may like that.
I'm glad that you told me, because I watched the first season of Somebody Somewhere and was like, this is a very different flavor. Like, and I think I probably would have started watching at a fairly similar time to Ted Lasso, or at least somewhere around there anywhere. And I was like, oh wow, these are very different flavors. Somebody Somewhere being about a very tall, broad, big lady in Alabama? No. Where is it? Somewhere in the south. Who is, it's very small town, very small kind of drama, but huge emotion. And there's this person who's clearly not coping with their life and has alcohol problems, and a kind of wonderful best friend, and it's very hard.
Not initially. She doesn't have the wonderful best friend.
No,
and that's where it's nice. It's about opening yourself up to things like friendship and believing that you deserve friendship, and having people out there who are willing to actually give that. It's really, really nice. Bridget Everett is the actor, and she's fantastic. And it is a bit harder going than either of these because it doesn't have quite the same soft edges. But it's still, it's got the same end effect in terms of a little bit more faith in humanity and an exploration of maybe the good in people in a way.
Yeah, it's definitely a lovely watch. But as you say, the harder edges. It's a little more corrugated iron.
It is still comedy though.
Oh yeah,
it's got its moments.
Yes, I certainly laughed and enjoyed it.
Any other suggestions you got for us there, Pete?
Well, you should definitely watch Dispatches from Elsewhere. It is utterly absurd and somehow manages to find more than 4 walls to break. And somebody needs to watch it so that I can talk to them about it.
Right.
Okay,
Or
so we've got
potentially you
Andre
could put that
Benjamin.
one onto the schedule, which we have for May. And that one
I tried 2 years ago.
No.
You're like, nah. And I guess while we're talking about, like, mental health related meditations, Mr. Corman on Apple TV is, again, a really good watch, not really a comedy, very interesting show, and a very, very interesting depiction of what it feels like to have anxiety.
Interesting. Okay.
Interesting. Unfortunately, it looks like it's been cancelled.
That's big. Probably like told everyone to watch it and nobody did. So that's on you guys.
Okay, sorry, Pete.
Ouch.
One thing that I wanted to bring up that I forgot, and I left myself notes for this. Pete, are you aware of or have read any Brené Brown?
Yes.
Right.
It's hard to not be aware of Brené Brown.
Yeah, I'm finding this because it turns up in work and stuff like that. It wasn't until I was listening to some of her stuff that I realized apparently she is a massive fan of both Ted Lasso and I think Shrinking, but all of the writers are massive fans of hers. And when you start reading any of her stuff on shame or being brave and all these sort of things, you start seeing those themes showing up in these shows. So if you're wanting to kind of, and God, it does sound like it's a self-help group or whatever, but if you are intrigued by the ideas of where some of these things come from, or what Brett and Jason and that are kind of exploring this sort of, we're talking, what was it, eco-masculinity? Not toxic.
Non-toxic / eco-masculinity.
But in this case, it's sort of eco-humanity because it's not masculinity or femininity. It's just being a human. Check out some of the work of Brené Brown. She's done a 5-part series that is around, and I can't for the life of me think what it's called.
She's got TED Talks, she's got books, she's got, just type her name into Google and a lot of stuff will come up.
You'll find no shortage of Brené Brown. Atlas of the Heart is a series that came out quite recently. I think it was late last year, maybe even early this year, that is her talking about all of these things. So if you like that kind of thing and you want to explore more of that, go and find her. What are we doing?
What are we doing next? What, now? Or
what are we doing now?
Well, we're going to wrap it up, I think. That's about it. Go watch Shrinking. Shrinking's fun. Like, it's a good show. You might get something out of it. You might not. I don't know. Watch for Harrison Ford. You're going to get a lot of Harrison Ford this first half of the year. We're going to get this, and then we're going to watch the Harrison Ford Indiana Jones is coming out. All that kind of stuff.
As I said to our little group today, I found out today that Harrison Ford has played Indiana Jones once more often than I thought he had.
Yes, Well, we'll save that one for later. For that, but we haven't actually decided what we're doing for the schedule next month.
Starting next month, which is
but we
next
should
week.
get that out by the end of the year and sort of see what's going on. But there's plenty of things that have been out there.
There is a film that has come out recently on Apple called Ghosted. We'll probably
potentially it has one of the Chris's.
Yes, has a whole bunch of people in it. We may talk about that. Who knows?
In the month of May, there's Fast 10. Your seatbelts.
Yes.
There's Guardians of GOG 3. There's Renfield. There's The Little Mermaid.
So many things.
Technically speaking, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse 1, it starts in June, but hey, whatever.
Right.
Who knows? Plus TV. We haven't even talked about the end of season 3 of Mandalorian.
Or Picard.
And who's going to watch Schmicago so that we can talk about it.
And then there's Schmicago, and then there's so many options to do it. It looks like there might have to be a bit of a TV roundup, but that's a fucking clip show.
Yeah.
Schmicago is not for a roundup. Schmicago is a full hour-long discussion.
Okay.
You also have to add Schmigadoon.
Yes, that is.
And there are lots of musicals that we need to talk about. It's a whole thing.
It is a whole thing. You are correct. Yeah. And I could probably do a solid hour just by myself talking about Picard.
Don't forget next week, like after the show, the 4th of May, May the 4th.
What's important about the 4th of May?
May the 4th be with you.
Have you developed a lisp?
And yes, I have. Wait, are you hearing a lisp, Quinny? Is that something that you hear often? Like, what's going on?
I guess I've heard voices talking to me quite often, screaming for a long time.
Yeah.
I never realized that was not something that other people. Oh, hi, right. So we're not in therapy anymore. We're out of therapy. Does that mean I'm better?
Quinny, are you sure that you hadn't just left your headphones in and you're just listening to a podcast that you forgot that you had on? Are you sure?
No.
You sure? No.
Realistically, though, you should probably both consider getting therapy. Start going to the dentist for your brain.
Well,
Pete, that's
considering
not
how I
selling
feel
it.
about going to the dentist, Pete.
Yeah, that's not selling it for us, but like, thanks for your attempt there. Excellent. That's well done.
I mean, does this mean that like occasionally, like I won't go to the therapist for many years, and when he goes back, he's going to cause me a lot of pain. There may be a bunch of blood, and then after a little while, he's going to try and pull out one of my brain teeth.
I mean, the first of those three things, potentially, yeah.
Are you saying that like I'm going to get a course of pills that I get to take that should be kind of loopy until the infection heals? Sure.
I mean,
It's actually
maybe,
pretty
yeah.
accurate, yeah.
Oh dear! Thank you everyone for joining us, and thanks for the people in the chat. Hello, people in the chat.
We love you, chat.
And you know,
Shout out to you, Predicanga.
Yes.
Yes, sweet tooth.
yeah, not eat a dick, Pam. Yes, these are all good things, but we're gonna get the schedule up soon, and we'll come back for the merry month of May, because it's gonna be May.
It's gonna be May.
It's gonna be May.
Okay. Shall we go and raid Hex?
Sure, we should go raid someone. That'd be fun. See
Lovely.
you all. See you all next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
I wanna live in a world full of heroes, not sit here counting zeros in a cubicle downtown. I wanna look out my window, see 'em flying, and swing across the horizon as I cheer 'em on so proud. See, powered girl keep staring at her face, and call Colossus and have 'em teach me ways, and then we'd exercise. I'd be one of the guys. With martial arts from iron fist and wall, I'll dance her up and teach her all my songs. Oh, I wanna live in a world full of heroes, not cooking up these heroes at my parents' restaurant now. I wanna yell out Avengers assemble, not order up for Ethel. Yeah, we're out of cheeky now. Date Emma Frost and have her read my mind, or Magdalena, her artifacts I find, and then we catch a symphony. It'll just be her and me. Call Bucky Barnes and arm wrestle for hours. This NMA and bring her lots of flowers. Oh, call Hellboy up and learn to smoke cigars. Be Tony Stark at all the trendy bars, and be a guy's night out. We'd make that wolf pack out. I'd run with Flash and do a marathon. Vacation to the Savage Land for fun. Oh, I wanna live in a world full of. I wanna live in a world full of heroes. Have NPR and CNN describe the latest team. I wanna tuck my kids inside and read them stories of superhuman glory while the sleepy faces beam. I wanna live in a world full of heroes, not sit here counting zeros in a cubicle downtown. I wanna look out my window, see 'em flying, and swing across the horizon as I cheer 'em on so proud. See, powered girl keep staring at her face, and call Colossus and have 'em teach me ways, and then we'd exercise. I'd be one of the guys. With martial arts from Iron Fist and Wall. I'll dap her up and teach her all my songs. Oh,